The sky was an endless swirl of crimson and ash. The air reeked of burning ozone, as if the universe itself was exhaling its final breath. I hovered midair, my cape torn and fluttering like a crimson flag of surrender. Below me, the battlefield sprawled, a desolate wasteland littered with shattered buildings and the twisted remnants of humanity's progress. And then there was him. Doomsday. He stood amidst the wreckage like a living monument to chaos, his jagged skin shimmering under the flickering light of dying flames. Every step he took made the earth tremble, a reminder of the countless lives he had crushed underfoot. "Supergirl," he growled, his voice like grinding steel. "You cannot win." My heart hammered against my ribs, but I refused to show weakness. Not to him. Not to anyone. "I've heard that before," I said, forcing a smirk. Our battle began again, an explosion of motion and power. His fists were like meteors, each strike threatening to break me in half. I dodged, countered, but his strength was relentless. I'd faced him before. Kryptonian resilience usually tipped the scales in my favor. But this time, something was different. Something in me. Hours earlier, the first tremors of the invasion had rippled through National City. Reports of strange, black tendrils consuming everything in their path reached the DEO. It was Venom, an alien symbiote wreaking havoc and bending others to its will. I had barely enough time to breathe before Doomsday arrived, apparently drawn to the chaos like a moth to a flame. Venom wasn't one for alliances, but with Doomsday wreaking havoc, I suspected it had found an opportunity. The battle wasn't just physical, it was psychological. Now, my breath came in ragged gasps. My muscles screamed in protest as Doomsday threw me against the ruins of an office building. Glass and steel crumbled around me. "You fight hard for a world that will never thank you," came a voice, smooth and insidious, from somewhere in the shadows. "Venom." I whipped around, scanning the darkness. The symbiote had been silent during most of the battle, lurking like a predator waiting for the right moment. "Show yourself," I demanded. "Oh, I'm closer than you think," it purred. Before I could react, a tendril lashed out, coiling around my wrist. Its grip was icy, sending shivers through my body. I yanked free, blasting it with heat vision, but it retracted with a hiss, retreating into the shadows. "Careful now," it said. "You'll need me before the night is through." The fight with Doomsday raged on, but my strength was waning. The sun, hidden behind the layers of smoke and destruction, was no longer replenishing my Kryptonian cells. Every punch I landed felt weaker than the last. As if sensing my vulnerability, Venom struck. A wave of black tendrils erupted from the ground, slamming into me and pinning me against a crumbling wall. My struggles only made the symbiote tighten its grip. "Let go," I shouted, heat vision searing the edges of its form. But Venom didn't release me. Instead, it whispered, its voice now inside my mind. "You're wasting your strength, Kara. You can't defeat him alone. But together." "No," I growled. "I don't need you. Don't you?" My mind was a battlefield of its own. The symbiote's presence was invasive, probing, tempting. It promised strength, resilience, a way to win against impossible odds. The next blow from Doomsday shattered the ground beneath me. I was on my knees, struggling to rise, when Venom struck again. "This is your last chance," it hissed. "Accept me, and I'll make you unstoppable." I hesitated. For a moment, a single, fleeting moment, the idea of giving in seemed reasonable. But then I remembered who I was. "Kryptonians don't surrender," I said, summoning every ounce of defiance I had left. With a surge of willpower, I unleashed a solar flare, a blast of energy that scorched everything in its path. The tendrils recoiled, and even Doomsday stumbled backward, momentarily disoriented. I collapsed, my vision swimming. The solar flare had drained me completely. I was powerless now, vulnerable. When I woke, I was somewhere else. The room was dark, the air thick with the acrid scent of chemicals. My wrists and ankles were bound with strange, glowing chains that sapped what little strength I had left. Doomsday was gone. But Venom was here. "You're resilient," it said, its voice echoing from every corner. "I like that." I glared at the shadows. "Where am I?" A place where choices don't matter, it replied. Only survival does. The symbiote materialized before me, a shifting mass of black and white. It circled me like a predator, its presence oppressive. I don't need your help, I said, though the chains rendered the defiance in my voice hollow. You will, it said, leaning closer. Doomsday isn't the real threat, Kara. There are forces in this universe far more dangerous. You'll face them eventually. And when you do, you'll wish you had my power. The sound of metal groaning interrupted us. The chains snapped, and I fell forward, barely catching myself. Venom recoiled as a beam of golden light cut through the darkness. Get away from her. I looked up to see Brainiac, his expression grim. He held a device emitting a strange, pulsating energy that seemed to repel the symbiote. Venom hissed but didn't attack. This isn't over, Supergirl, it said before retreating into the shadows. Brainiac rushed to my side, helping me to my feet. Are you all right? I nodded, though the weight of everything that had happened pressed heavily on me. The battle wasn't won. Doomsday was still out there, and Venom's words lingered like a poison in my mind. But as I looked into Brainiac's concerned eyes, I found a flicker of hope. For now, that was enough. As Brainiac helped me to my feet, a sly smile crept onto my lips despite the ache in my body. His concern was endearing, but I couldn't resist lightening the moment. So, I teased, brushing dust from my tattered cape, do I always need to get captured by some alien menace to get you to swoop in like my knight in shining armor? Brainiac raised an eyebrow, his calm demeanor cracking just enough to reveal a flicker of amusement. Perhaps if you didn't insist on charging into battles alone, I wouldn't have to play the hero. Touché, I replied, letting a hint of mischief play in my voice. But admit it, you like saving me. I stepped closer, feigning an exaggerated pout. Doesn't it make you feel all gallant and heroic? His lips curved into a rare smile, and I couldn't help but feel a spark of satisfaction. Despite his usual stoic nature, there was a warmth in his gaze that softened the chaos of the moment. You're impossible, he muttered, though his tone betrayed a fondness he didn't bother to hide. Leaning slightly against him for support, I added with a wink, and yet, you wouldn't have it any other way. The playful banter was fleeting, but it grounded me, a reminder that even in the face of overwhelming odds, moments of levity and connection could still shine through. For now, the fight was behind us, and I allowed myself to enjoy the teasing reprieve. Tomorrow, we'd face the threats again, but tonight, I'd revel in the spark of something lighter. As the golden light from Brainiac's device faded, the air shifted, and a chilling realization swept over me: I wasn't truly free. The faint hum of the chains I thought broken echoed in my ears. My body felt heavy, sluggish, as if some unseen force still bound me. Did you really think it would be that easy? Venom's voice slithered through the air, this time softer, almost coaxing. Tendrils began to seep from the walls, moving with eerie purpose. Brainiac, I shouted, but my voice faltered as my body refused to respond. A faint pulse of black energy coursed through me, freezing my limbs mid-motion. You're strong, Supergirl, Venom cooed, its tone laced with something unsettlingly close to admiration. But even strength has limits. I know your fears, your doubts. I can take them away. I clenched my jaw, trying to summon the will to resist, but the tendrils crept closer, brushing against my skin like a predator savoring its prey. You fight so hard, it continued, circling me with a slow, predatory grace. For a world that doesn't deserve you. For people who don't understand you. But me, I understand. You don't know me, I spat, though my voice trembled. It chuckled, low and insidious. Oh, but I do. I feel your every thought, your every hesitation. And I know what you crave most: freedom. Freedom from expectations, from weakness, from limits. The tendrils wrapped around my arms, holding me in place, not tight enough to hurt, but enough to remind me of their control. It leaned closer, its voice dropping to a whisper. I can give you everything you've ever wanted. All you have to do is let go. For a heartbeat, the temptation lingered, a siren call in the chaos. My mind screamed to resist, but in the depths of my exhaustion, the line between strength and surrender blurred.